If you are an investor and you want to optimize your stock market returns, it isn't enough to just pick the right stocks. You must also know how to combine different stocks into a portfolio to maximize potential upside and minimize potential downside. You want to diversify, meaning reducing your risk, but you don't want to diversify, meaning reducing your investment returns. How many stocks that you need in your portfolio to accomplish this goal is a question that has tormented investors for centuries. Luckily, Warren Buffett has got us covered on this topic. But he thinks that most investors tend to get this one wrong, so listen up.
We think diversification, as practiced generally, makes very little sense for anyone that knows what they're doing.
First, let's have a look at how many stocks Warren Buffett held in the beginning of his investing career, and compare that to his current portfolio. In 1941, an 11-year-old Warren Buffett purchased his first shares. He bought 3 preferred shares of a company called City Service for a total of $114.75. As his then net worth was $120, he went pretty much all in. Not much diversification to talk about. However, a few years later, when Buffett was 19, his mind would change a bit. This was the time when he read The Intelligent Investor, and later he went to Columbia Business School to learn value investing from Benjamin Graham. Graham operated an investing partnership called Graham-Newman, and in 1951, this partnership had more than 100 different positions in its portfolio, although it was quite top-heavy. Buffett thought, maybe a single stock is too little, and so he diversified into 7 holdings. And much like Graham, he decided to be top-heavy.
You will find opportunities that if you put 20% of your net worth in it, you have wasted the opportunity of a lifetime, in terms of not really loading up.
In January 1962, Buffett had recently become a millionaire through his own investing partnership, Buffett Partnership Limited. Quite little is officially known about the positions of the partnership, but Buffett has hinted towards his portfolio allocations a couple of times. In 1962, he stated, "We usually have fairly large positions, 5 to 10% of our total assets, in each of 5 or 6 generals," which was what Buffett called one of the types of investments in the partnership, with smaller positions in another 10 or 15. In 1966, he said, "We probably have had only 5 or 6 situations in the 9-year history of the partnership where we have exceeded 25%. And also, we presently have 2 situations in the over 25% category. One a controlled company, Berkshire, and the other a large company, American Express, where we will never take an active part." From this, I think we can safely conclude that back then, Buffett liked to stay focused. However, if we fast forward to today, we wouldn't get the same picture. Warren Buffett owns more than 40 listed companies and more than 50 wholly owned operating subsidiaries. It is quite difficult to state what his current portfolio looks like, as most of these companies aren't listed, but that won't stop me from trying. According to my calculations, Warren Buffett's current portfolio looks like this. Still quite top-heavy, but not at all as concentrated on a few companies as he was back in the days. Does this mean that Buffett thinks that a 100-company portfolio is better than a 10-company portfolio these days? That he no longer likes to concentrate his portfolio now that he's older and wiser?
We'll never get a chance to do that working with the kinds of money that Berkshire does. We try to load up on things, and there will be markets when we get a chance to from time to time, but very seldom do we get to buy as much of any good idea as we would like to.
So, no. Buffett would love to operate a concentrated portfolio today too. It's just that when he's only looking at the elephants of the business world, he seldom finds that one of them is both understandable and undervalued. But you and I do not need to limit ourselves to the elephants. So let's talk about 4 rules of thumb which Warren Buffett would use to determine how many, or how few, stocks you should have in your portfolio. By the way, the logic applies to other types of assets too, such as real estate or bonds. The first thing you should consider is this. Are you a know-something investor?
Diversification is a protection against ignorance. I mean, if you want to make sure that nothing bad happens to you relative to the market, you own everything. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that is a perfectly sound approach for somebody who who does not feel they know how to analyze businesses. If you know how to analyze businesses and value businesses, it's crazy to own 50 stocks or 40 stocks or 30 stocks probably.
Brokerage firms must inform their customers that your capital is at risk. Every company in the stock market is in no way a safe bet, and it is possible to roll a few snake eyes in a row. A know-something investor understands which die he is rolling when he is investing, or at least he has an idea of what it looks like. The know-something investor has done things such as looked through the financial statements of the companies he invests in, researched the management and owners of the companies, understood who the main competitors of the industries he is in are, and compared the price of his investments to other opportunities in the stock market. The more knowledge you have about individual companies, the less diversification you need. And conversely, if you don't know these things about companies, it is better that you purchase a wide selection of securities, preferably through an index fund, because, frankly, you do not know what kind of die you are rolling. Note that this can vary from industry to industry or country to country. An introspection of this kind is really difficult to make, so a good proxy for how much you know is how much time you spend on researching stocks each week. Index funds is the best option for people who cannot commit too much time to security analysis. As Buffett said in 1993, by periodically investing in an index fund, for example, the know-nothing investor can actually outperform most investment professionals. Paradoxically, when dumb money acknowledges its limitations, it ceases to be dumb. Are you investing in risky assets? Even at the roulette tables, where the casino has a mathematically computable edge, diversification is needed. Therefore, there's a limit to how much you are allowed to bet there. Casinos know that a string of losses can lead to bankruptcy, zero, and no previous outstanding returns can compensate for that. The riskier the bets that you are taking are, the more diversification you'll need.
Risk with us, well, it relates to several possibilities. One is the risk of permanent capital loss, and then the other risk is that just an inadequate return on the kind of capital we put in. It does not relate to volatility at all.
The stock market is obviously not as quantifiable as the casinos. In terms of riskiness, what you need to watch out for are securities where, if you are wrong, you are likely to lose everything in that holding. Here are a few such situations. Are some opportunities much better than others?
And to have some super wonderful business and then put money in number 30 or 35 on your list of attractiveness and forego putting more money into number 1 just strikes Charlie and me as madness.
If you are a know-something investor, you should be able to judge the attractiveness of individual opportunities. Not everywhere, but at least within your circle of competence. For example, say that you've found companies which you think are likely to return the following. Given this scenario, it would make sense to load up on your top 5 ideas. Adding an equal stake of company numbers 6 through 10 to your portfolio will reduce its expected returns, and you will be, as was hinted at the beginning of the video, diversifying, a term stolen from Peter Lynch. Moreover, you should invest far more in your best idea than the rest, much like Buffett has done with Apple and BNSF today, or like he did in 1951 with Geico. Can you earn it back?
You will see things that it would be a mistake if you're working with smaller sums. It would be a mistake not to have half your net worth in it.
This is the 4th rule of thumb. The less capital that you are working with, the fewer stocks you need. It depends on where you are in your investment career and how much you earn. For example, if you only have 1 month of salary to invest, you could go crazy and bet it all on a single stock. Heck, I wouldn't even care much if you said that you'd bet it all at the roulette table, although that is a stupid idea. But at least you will get it back the next month. When we are starting to talk about sums of money which takes a couple of years to earn back through your everyday work though, then you must really start to consider diversification. An extreme case would be if you've just inherited a large lump sum of money. Alright, so you should concentrate your portfolio more if you are a know-something investor, are buying assets that have a low risk of adverse outcomes, expect a large difference in returns among the opportunities you've found, and can replace your capital fairly quickly through income. As you may have guessed, this is not a precise science. But an investor will have a distinct advantage when he's aware of what path his thought process is following.